Okay, Melinda. Well, and this also pertains to Alex's questions as well. I just part of this class format is that's I like a lot about it, but one of the things I don't like about it is being able to easily ask questions back to you guys. And um, while I was watching Crash and also reading the articles, particularly um, the one on monsters. I think that's the one that was looking at cutting behavior and migraines, and I'm getting them all mixed up now. But there are two films or one filmmaker in particular that I kept thinking about, which was David Lynch and his use of disabled bodies in lots of films. Blue Velvet, I mean, Twin Peaks had disabled folks all throughout it. He uses them very differently, but this film felt like Lynch extreme to me, Cronenberg. um, so I mean, I think the sensation, at least for me, that they were going out was that sort of attraction to danger and disability and crashes and scars, sort of representing danger. And even if it involves pain or monsters that were repulsed but also attracted, right? Which is what the article that you're talking about talks about. And so you're left feeling like, why was I, possibly turned on by that film, right? Because it might be disturbing to be turned on by it. So yeah, I don't know. It is. I'm not as familiar with the horror genre or the porn genre actually. So there are other experts in the group that could talk to that part of it. But I thought of Lynch a lot. The other one was James Spader was in a film called Secretary. I believe it was Secretary with Maggie Gyllenhaal, and she um, cut herself, and there was S&M stuff in there as well. And I thought that's a very different, look at that. I don't, it was humorous and hardly horror. Um, so again, using disability and pain and control in a different way that anybody that's seen those films or knows of what I'm talking about, I would love to hear, especially the film folks in this class, because I'm not one of them. Um, I would like to hear sort of your thoughts on how those filmmakers use disability differently. They definitely use it, but how do they use it differently? And then poor James Spader, he's hanging out a lot with this stuff. I mean, very courageous. I mean, the role that he plays in those films is very, very comfortable in his body in order to do such a part, both parts. So I was happy to see that he's brave in lots of the films that he's in. Um, Again, when I was watching Crash, I thought a lot about physicians. And one of the characters, the Holly Hunter character, is a physician supposedly, and how doctors, unlike the rest of us, I guess, who don't see disability, that you have disabled people that know and see disability, but you also have the medical gaze or the physician who sees all these things and is in sort of this voyeur sort of space, much like James Spader's space of watching people recover and watching the sort of subculture of disabled people that are enamored with crashes. But I remember working in hospitals, and the president of our hospital was all upset because the ER physicians were spending too much time on the internet looking at porn, and that they were making 900 number calls all the time, and that he was having to reprimand physicians a lot about their use of internet sex. And when I talked to him about it, I was like, well, I don't understand how, as a physician, you guys expect each other to see naked bodies and sort of be in these private spaces that Lisa talks about, and and negotiate that, right? And how that they're, the curiosity about the body, and why do people go into medicine, and why do they like medicine, and why do they like to be in this relationship that Flanagan points out to us, and knowing that there are alternatives to sort of the heteronormative sexuality, because they see it all the time with their clients, or the people they see. So I almost feel like we're watching sort of how things unfold potentially for physicians, upper middle class, lack of exposure to much anything other than sort of the heteronormative, and then all of a sudden these monsters, these subcultures come up out of the woodwork, and they have to figure out how to negotiate them, and that there isn't a lot out there. I mean, in terms of the films that we've been talking about, there's a very sort of narrow depiction of people, and so how do they negotiate that? And I think that the Spader character, particularly in Crash, felt like a physician role to me. So, yeah, I just thought that it's just I don't know what else to say.